Hello, everyone. How you doing? This is Ralph Tapia here with Network Funding. As some of you guys may know, I started doing these like webcast, Facebook Live, kind of podcast style things every couple of weeks, just kind of showcase different stories from people that I'm connected with. And, everyone kind of has a unique story, and kind of being locked in our houses, so to speak, or just kind of, social distancing, if you will. Just from doing that kind of got me thinking, like, you know what, I've had this idea for a very long time to kind of start this podcast or webcast kind of series and telling people's unique stories. I have a unique story myself. I changed careers at a very late age at 35 years old. And throughout that journey, I've actually come across several different people who have done the exact same thing. And so with that said, today's guest is Mr. Chase Johnson. He's with Goosehead Insurance, and I'll go ahead and bring him on board right now. Hey, Chase, what's going on, bud?
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to kind of hang out with your boys, since everyone's social distancing as we speak. So with that said, kind of give us a little introduction of yourself.
Yeah, guys, my name's Chase Johnson. I run the Goosehead Insurance office on Yale Street here, 802 Yale. I've been in this industry for coming up on 5 years, actually. So, gosh, time flies. I didn't even really think about that before. I have a background in sales right out of college. I went to A&M, and then after that, moved up to Dallas for a few years. And, that was 2008, market crash. It was a really difficult time to start out in a sales position in Dallas. So ultimately, I transitioned to oil and gas and did that for about 5 years. And that's what brought me back to Houston, this is where I'm originally from. And then, obviously, that was great for a while. When the economy's great, oil and gas is great. I know a lot of people right now understand that, and I'm not trying to make light of that, of course, but that was part of the reason why I wanted to get out of the oil and gas industry. Is I wanted to really take over, get control of my financial situation, and I felt like if I bet on myself, I would have more earning potential in the future and really achieve the goals I wanted to financially. So I made the leap to Goosehead Insurance. My really good friend bought a franchise. My other very good friend was the first employee, and I got to watch them from afar for I think it was about 6 to 8 months, and it just really resonated with me. Their business model, the philosophy. Insurance always has a negative stigma to it, and rightfully so. There's a lot of bad agents out there that don't do a very good job, and I thought we could bring some quality to that. And bring some customer service to that a lot of people don't do, and it's worked out very well. And we're really taking off right now. We're off and running, and looking to grow our business. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. So just happy to kind of dive into all this stuff, man.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate it. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring you on, right, and just kind of chat with you. I've had Chris Andall, which is my branch manager, on a couple of weeks ago. Prior to that, I had another referral partner, realtor that I work with. And, everyone has this unique story of how they got to where they're at. And, what really made me realize just the impact, because whenever you're in that corporate America kind of grind, you're at your desk, by 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning for other people, and you leave at 5 o'clock on the dot, you kind of just get funneled into this mundane, there's nothing wrong with it, but you just kind of get in this cycle of just every day, Monday through Friday, you just have your blinders on and you go to work. And I was the same way. And then when I got into, when I finally decided to hang up my oil and gas boots and kind of go into something for myself, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I really didn't. I took about a year off of work. I traveled a little bit, and I kind of wanted to do something I was good at. I didn't, and I still don't know what I'm good at. Part of doing this whole podcast thing, this is the things that I've been doing, for the past, call it 3 years now. And I kind of figured out, okay, you know what? I want to do things that I enjoy doing. And mortgages is one piece of it, right? But then from the mortgage piece, I'm like, okay, now that I'm in this type of career that is 100% commission, that's cool and all, but you gotta put food on the table. You obviously have a baby along the way with that. What can I do of the things that I'm good at? So tell me a little bit about, because I've met you, so I guess we'll take a step back. So I met Chase about 4 or 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I remember the happy hour. I don't remember the bar.
I know where it was at exactly. We were at the Drinkery in Midtown.
I know it was in Midtown. I just couldn't remember the name. Yeah, so Drinkery. Yeah. And so it's a funny story with Chase because, as I just mentioned, when you get into this industry, you start meeting people that have these unique stories, right? So I meet Chase. And we start talking. And the whole time I'm looking at this guy, I'm like, God, where do I know this guy from? You know, he just looked familiar. He had a familiar face. And as we start to talk, and it turns out I know his mom and his dad, which is crazy, which in San Antonio, which is even crazier.
Yep.
And ever since then, we've kind of been well acquainted and become friends, I would say. We've golfed together and hung out together outside of work and all that good stuff.
I'd like to think I'm your friend, Ralph.
Of course, man. Of course. When you have a beer with somebody more than once, y'all are friends, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And dude, we've had some hilarious conversations, and I have these conversations with a lot of my other friends, you know, and people that I'm also acquainted with in the business realm. And we have all these good times, and it's like, you know what? Like, let's broadcast the stories a little bit. So, I mean, I know a little bit about your history. So, I mean, kind of keeping it kind of short. I mean, what made you pick insurance? I mean, of all things.
Yeah, that's, I would have never picked this. I wanted to be a NBA basketball player, of course. I'm 5'10", so that wasn't happening. I want to step back. One thing you said, and I think aligning your life with, your career path and doing some of that stuff, you got to play to your strengths. And with that being said, if you thrive in structure, if going to work at 7 and leaving at 5 suits your personality type, do it, right? Play to your strengths. And I think you and I, Ralph, like to freelance a little more. We're not so much, we're not going to thrive in that structured environment. Could we survive? Yes. And I think I did better than survive, but was it playing to my ultimate strength? No, It was not. And I've really honed in on that a lot lately through some, listening to guys like, take example, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. It's a great book, and it talks about taking ownership of things, but playing to your strength. Jordan Peterson has a book, 12 Rules for Life. There's a lot of great life lessons in these books that really start to make you think that, for one, it helps you understand yourself better. Be honest with yourself. What are you good at? What do you struggle with? Because there's a lot of people and there's a lot of BS out there about you can be anything you want to be. I was going to say another word, but that's BS. All right.
Oh, dude, fucking cuts, man.
It's horseshit is what I was going to say. It's not true. Play to your strength. You can work on your weaknesses, no doubt. If you want to improve in an area, do it. But in the meantime, play to your strength. I actually had this conversation with my younger brother about that. He's very analytical, a lot different than me personality wise. He was trying to do the sales thing, and I don't think it was a great personality fit for him. And now he's in an engineering role. He loves his job. He's doing very well, and he's playing to his strength. So you got to stay in your lane, play to your strength. That doesn't mean you can't work on something else and develop a strength out of a weakness, right? But don't dive in and act like, and you listen to these people in the educational world that are just doing people disservices about, you can be anything you want to be. Well, if you don't have the ability mentally to do it, you're wasting your time and you're lying to yourself, right? So being honest with yourself was first and foremost, I think, the most important thing, right? The second thing, getting into insurance, wow, man, I mean, I don't know. I never thought about it, to be honest with you. My agent is now my boss for the longest time. And I could have got in the Goosehead thing, 10 years ago. They were all there. All my buddies were working over there. I didn't know. I just was like, yeah, here's my money, pay for the insurance policy, whatever. I trust you. And ultimately what led down this path was the frustration with the economic situation, being in oil and gas, wanting to find a more lucrative opportunity. And again, betting on myself. Sales was my strong point. And I wanted to do that. What's up?
So what year was that? When did you get laid off, or what happened there?
No, I never got laid off. There was certainly a lot of people around me getting laid off. I almost volunteered to be let go so I could do this job. I almost wanted to kind of get a severance and then just leave, like to save somebody else's job. But I was also refinancing my home at the time. So there was all these employment, verification issues. So ultimately, I just made a clean switch once that was done, and went over full time with Goosehead. But
how was that transition? Because I mean, if I remember correctly, y'all are 100% commission, right? So it's kind of like eat what you kill kind of thing.
Well, I was, and my colleague was. We offer a base. We have a lot more benefits, and plus, we were just new. We were a brand new agency. We didn't have that kind of financial backing. We're run very conservatively from a financial perspective. We have the ability to to offer a base salary and different comp structures now that we didn't have it. Yeah, I was commission only. I was That's how we met, man. I mean, every marketing
know.
event, it was you or Tori or you, Tori and Chris. I mean, we were seeing each other every single place. Like,
Yeah.
man, we got to, we got to do some business together, man. I mean, gosh, we all have the same mentality.
So tell me, man, because I know I have some of my individual struggles. I mean, like when I went to this, to this role where it's 100% commission, there's a lot of challenges that people don't think about when they do that. And one of my challenges was, I mean, I took to it pretty quickly, but it was when you're in that corporate environment and you have that steady paycheck every 2 weeks, it's cool, and you kind of can get a little complacent. I'm not saying people do, but people can. And maybe I was one of them. I'm still trying to figure that part out myself.
They do. It's not that they do. People do, frankly. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and it's weird even saying that out loud because I mean, you being in this type of role where again we mentioned 100% commission a lot of times. There's a mental fortitude you need to power through some of those struggles because it's not easy. And especially how old were you whenever you started over again?
I made the change. Well, when I was full time, right. I was 29 or 30. I think it was.
Yeah.
That was 30 years old. Yeah.
Okay, so call it 30 years old, right? 30 years old. 100% commission, probably making shit, right? I mean, I was
not a good first year.
Yeah, it never is. It never is a good first year. I was 35 making shit. I think my first year in mortgages, I made more money my first year out of college, like 12 or 15 years prior, right? So here I am, 35 years old, single at the time, right? And I'm like trying to date, making less money than people coming out of school. It was very hard, and just mentally it's hard because you feel like, oh my God, I'm 35 years old, or maybe in your case, oh my God, I'm 30 years old. Like I should be doing this much more, and it kind of drives you a little bit, I would assume, right?
Yeah, I think that there's this undertone in our society right now, both politically and just societal, that is this idea that we're supposed to need help from others, right? Whether it's a government program or these bailouts or some of this stuff, it's this idea that we should be dependent on that. And people aren't taking personal responsibility for themselves and their situation. Look, I am far from perfect. I have every struggle that everybody else does, the mental grind, the fortitude it takes to get up every day to go in here and do this is not easy. That's why it's not for everybody. That's why I'm saying you got to play to your strengths. But if that is something that interests you or you're into, you can do it. It's just a matter of setting your mind to something, setting goals. That's probably the most important thing. Goal setting. Set goals, attainable goals, maybe even goals that are a little bit out of reach, right? That whole aim small, miss small mentality. Right. Good little Patriot movie reference there. But aim small, miss small, meaning that you set this really high, audacious goal. And if you miss it by a little bit, you still had an incredible year, right?
Right.
And so, for me, having that personal responsibility, having that challenge in front of me really resonated with me. And I think that you learn a lot about yourself in moments like that. And I found out that I really feel like, and this may come across as arrogant, I'm certainly not trying to be, but I feel like I thrive in pressure situations, or at least I'm able to handle it maybe better than most, and not all the time, right? I'm not perfect, but that's something that really resonates. So commission only, bought a house in the Heights, a little bit higher price point than maybe I should have gone with. There's a lot of pressure there to make some money quick, and that first year was, gosh, I was eating ramen, man. It was bad, it was a tough year. But the beauty of it is I doubled my income year 2. And whatever I made in oil and gas, I surpassed in year 2. So it was worth it. I put my head down, and I got to meet guys like you and your team and great business partners like that have really helped my success along the way. And we couldn't do it without guys like you. You got to have a good team of people that are on the same page, both I think personally and professionally, in terms of helping each other grow their businesses.
Oh, dude, I couldn't agree more, man. It's funny because like before I kind of got into the working for yourself kind of career, I would, you see those stupid YouTube videos and people like, if you can do anything you want, if you put your mind to it, it takes fortitude, perseverance. And it's like, oh God, shut up, right? But it's funny how as I've grown in this career now, this is the start of my 5th year into this career, I actually like I actually every now and again, probably once a month, maybe twice a month, I'll actually go into into the YouTube and listen to those motivational talks, or even like Tony Robbins. I used to fucking hate Tony Robbins.
Banana hands.
Yeah, Tony Banana Hands Robbins, right? But like even then, man, like even now and again, now that because I do listen to him. I listen to some of the stuff he puts out on YouTube, and I'm like, actually, it kind of makes sense. It all comes back to you and like what you're doing wrong. I was like, oh, you're not satisfied with your numbers. Well, guess what? Have you looked at yourself lately? And you're like, oh shit, yeah, you're right. I'm not making my phone calls or whatever it may be.
100%. I mean, this is, again, it goes back to kind of what's being preached in society right now. Nobody turns the mirror on themselves. Everybody projects and blame shifts everything else, right?
Right.
Your situation is a result of your actions, your efforts, and no one's. There's people saying it, but they don't get broadcasted. They're not getting highlighted. Dan Crenshaw's got a book coming out called Fortitude, literally about this. I can't wait to read it. I'm looking forward to grabbing it. It might be out already. I need to go grab it. But that's the kind of stuff these guys are talking about. Dan Crenshaw's a SEAL. Jocko Willink's a Navy SEAL. Right. These guys inherently kind of are already wired that way. But there's a lot of truth in what these guys are saying, and they've built that mentality over hard work and years and years and years of not just hard work, but coming up against an obstacle and persevering and continuing to do that time in and time out. And that stuff, as I've gotten into this business and our business is starting to mature, my professional approach, I feel like, is maturing. It was very immature at first. You're very selfish as a salesperson because, I got to pay for this house, right? I'm going to gobble everything up. And now we're getting to a point where we've got some producers. We're helping them grow, really facilitating success, not just for myself, but for everybody. And I think that's the key to success. You look at somebody like your boss, Chris Sandoff. He's a great example. Took a step back from day-to-day sales, but is in a full support role with you guys to help you guys out. Look at the team and the month y'all just had. I mean, it's amazing, right? And kudos to Chris for that level of support and the way he operates. And kudos to everybody in y'all's team for stepping up and really taking on those additional roles. That's what we're trying to do here. We've lagged behind you guys a little bit in terms of growth, and we're certainly trying to catch up. But that's great, man, is creating a job for somebody. That's hard, right? That's really hard. Creating a job that sticks, that's hard. But when you start doing it and you start seeing the success of that, man, that's a great and rewarding feeling, man, when you're really affecting somebody else's life positively.
It's almost addicting too. It's funny because like Chris, right? You just mentioned Chris, and I had him on 2 weeks ago. I'm trying to do this thing every 2 weeks because I feel like every week is too much and once a month is too little. So I feel like every 2 weeks is good. Yeah. But he went from like a day-to-day doing what I do, right? To like let me instead of broadcast to the world, let me broadcast to this group of people. Like let me serve, let me pick, hire people that are key individuals that will have plenty of growth ahead of them. And I'm going to apply this sales mentality to them or this customer service mentality to them. And dude, it's weird how to just kind of see how that actually does work. It's so weird. It's very cool to see how leaders lead and bosses dictate kind of thing. And I've never felt like Chris has ever been a dictator. Like in my corporate America career, when I was in corporate America for 12-ish, 13 years, I always had a boss that really didn't give a shit. I had several bosses and, they were, oh yeah, just do that or hang out with the traders more or whatever. It wasn't like, let me try to help develop you to get, to help you with your path, so to speak. And Chris has done a phenomenal job. I able to follow him. Follow the guy. Call him if you need mentorship. Shit, he might be for hire. I don't know. Give him a call and check.
I bounce stuff off Chris all the time. I do value his input for sure. And ultimately, that's something that's been, I naturally am a bossy person. It's just my personality. I'm type A, intense. I don't resonate with everybody. Not everybody likes, being my friend or wants to be my friend. That's fine. I've been watching Last Dance and Michael Jordan. He didn't give a damn. He's the best in the world. So, but look, I don't want to be. I'm not trying to do that deliberately, but I'm just trying to be me. Right. And if that rubs somebody the wrong way, hey, I'm sorry. I wish it wasn't that way. But most people, I think I can find some common ground and work with and work on. And you hit on a really important subject is being a leader and not being a boss. And that's leading by example, spending the time, quality time with people, that is so important. And when you hire somebody just to get them ramped up and to be successful, that's so hard, man. It really is. And I've got two young guys that are just quality guys, dude. These guys are doing very well. They ask questions, they're engaged, they really want to be good at this job. And when you start seeing them get better and better, and you're helping them along the way, and then now all of a sudden there's this culture in our office where it's like everybody's willing to help everybody and pick up the slack, and we're starting to get to a point where that culture is being created. Man, it's exciting. I'm having the most fun in this job I've had ever so far.
That's good, man.
And we're really just now taking off. I think the sky's the limit where we can have 20, 30 agents here. We've got 4, and we really want to get to a point where there's a lot more here.
So let me ask you this. We'll take a step back for a sec. So going back to when you decided to make that career change, right? The career change to insurance. Tell me what was going through your mind. Were you just like, oh, there could be a lot of money involved, I'm gonna go this route? Or were you like, were you contemplating even switching careers? Like, tell me what prompted the whole, like, because this part I don't know about you, right? I don't know this at all. Like, what prompted that want for change?
So when I first got into oil and gas, I was ecstatic. I went from making like $45,000 a year base commission in my job first out of college, and I was in a sales role for an electrical wholesale company. So we sell lighting fixture packages, big electrical panels for commercial sites, wiring, all the electrical components within a building. We would sell that stuff, right?
Real quick, what's your degree in? What'd you get?
Right? Industrial distribution at Texas A&M.
Okay, that's okay.
So it's kind of a sales, logistics, distributor profitability background in degree plan.
Cool.
So that was my first job out of college, and the timing wasn't great. Obviously, the market fell. There wasn't a lot of jobs there. So that's that's what got me down to oil and gas. Is one of my best friends was working for the company I worked for, which is Technip, and he got me an interview. And so I came down. I felt like I was wildly underqualified, and he was like, "No, that's just not the case, man. Just give me your resume." And he got me in front of the right people. I interviewed. I got the job. I was hired. I came in. I got like an instant $30,000 boost in my salary, which I thought, dude, say no more. I'm coming. And
that's a lot of money. I mean, to go from X to 30,000 more.
I was, forever. I'm 25, 26 years old right now. So that was, to me, a big deal. And it's, look, no one scoff at. That's a lot of money. For a lot of people, right? So I jumped on board. I came down here not really knowing what I was going to be doing, and I dove headfirst into that one. And the funny thing is about these oil and gas companies is when you walk into on your floor, you got every soda on earth you want. You got every candy that you want. You've got coffees, cappuccinos. You go out to steak dinners all the time. You get lunches paid for. Everything's just great. That's what I walked into. The oil and gas was just booming, man. I'm like,
what age was that?
26 years old. 25.
That's good living for a 26.
And I'm like, this is awesome. Well, market crashes, price of oil crashes, all of that stuff goes away.
That's 2015? When was that?
Yes. A little bit before that, right? Like 13, 14, somewhere in there, somewhere in that time frame. And that stuff is the first thing that goes. Boom. All of that stuff's gone. Yeah. I made a really healthy portion of my income going offshore and executing projects that we were working on. And when you're offshore, you make a lot of money doing that. You get a certain amount per day plus your salary. You're not spending money. You're on a boat in the middle of the ocean, right? So you're doing stuff. So what are you spending your money on? Internet's slow out there. You can't get online and buy stuff. So you sock away all this money and come back and get a fat paycheck. That's what allowed me to buy my house. So that was all nice. Well, there was no jobs, there was no offshore time. So I was literally making my base salary, which was a lot less than I was pulling in annually before that. Right. That's what got the gears grinded, right? Okay. That's what kind of had me thinking, wow, this is completely out of my control. Then they started laying people off, right? All around me. My colleagues, friends, people I've known for a while, they're getting laid off. People that have got recently a client of mine who's a friend of mine as well that I worked with at Technip, had been there for like 12, 13 years, just got let go, So it's very real. And I was like, man, I do not want to get myself in a situation where I'm pigeonholed in and I'm stuck here. And then, you get let go, and then you hang out for a couple of years, you collect unemployment, then oil and gas is hiring again, you go back, and then it happens again. Like, man, I don't want to do this stuff. And that's what triggered the conversations. And coincidentally, like I said, the timing was right. My boss, Matt, was buying the franchise and it was kind of, taking off, and I was inquiring about it. But there's one distinct conversation I had with a colleague in oil and gas that just pushed me over the top. And it had to do with income potential and earnings. And this goes again to playing to your strengths and what's important to you.
Yeah.
His conversation to me when he found out, because I had to keep it hush hush. I was doing it part-time when I was at the oil and gas company. And you really learn who your friends are there too, because there was a couple of people there that threw me under the bus. And I don't
remind me. I'll come back to that.
Yeah, I got thrown under the bus on by one person there, and it really frustrated me. And anyways, long story short, I'm past all that, whatever. But long story short, it was a separate individual I'm having a conversation with about compensation, and his whole pitch to me was that there may be a higher ceiling earning wise at insurance, but oil and gas has a higher floor. And I thought to myself, really? That's why you think about this? That you're basing your income projections in your life on the higher floor? I'm trying to hit the ceiling, but I'm trying to punch through the ceiling and make as much money as I can. And that was his argument. It just really resonated with me that's the typical engineering mindset is, they like the structure. And again, I'm not knocking. My mother has made a great living in oil and gas for a long time. My mom, you work for the same company a long time. I've been a beneficiary of that, right? No doubt about it. And I'm not knocking it. It's just not for me. And that's the key distinction. And that conversation specifically set me over the top.
Yeah, man. So tell me some of the struggles that, because we all have our struggles. I know Chris, whenever
struggles. What do you mean, man?
Yeah, well, even like whenever we're all have to take, or whenever we go to your house and hang out, watch the baseball game, whatever like that. Chris will bring it up quite a bit. Like, oh man, I remember this. We used to give all our leftovers, after we go out to eat, and it was 100% true. Like, dude, I was a baller on a budget, right? I was like, okay, my first year, in the mortgage business, like I said, I made like 31,000 or something like that, and so my money was tight. I downgraded my, I'm renting right now, and my goal is to buy a house even this year. But at the time, right when I was about to buy a house, is when I got laid off / pushed out kind of thing. So all that money I would have put on towards the house of down payment, I thank God I didn't buy a house. I kept it with me, and I used it to kind of use for marketing and all that stuff for the first 2-3 years. Right. And so, but that first year, man, I downgraded apartments. I was living cheap. I was living off of, like you mentioned, like a lot of ramen. And it's so true that people fucking eat ramen when you're, because it's like, hey man, it's filling, and you can dress up ramen like no business. I even still do that to this day, dude. Like I put peas and carrots in my ramen.
I cut it out, man. I was like, nah, no more ramen for me, man. But I get it, man. I get it. It's necessary sometimes, man. I think I took a $40,000 hit going from oil and gas to here, and that's without the offshore time factored in, man. I mean, it was a pretty substantial hit, and I was sweating bullets there for a while.
So tell me, did you? Because you're I've known you for a bit, and you're a self-starter. You're a self-starter. You're very witty, very quick with everything. Tell me, like, whenever you kind of got into that, into that new role, the new career, if you will, like, did you find yourself kind of like, did you? It's like you always have to get out of your own head, right? Because it's very easy to be negative up here, very easy to kind of go in that down.
Oh yeah.
Trajectory. So like, tell me some of the things that you did for yourself that kind of dug you out of that hole and say, fuck, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I need to go this route versus the other route. Like, anything in particular besides like maybe reading books, or any change of habit? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it doesn't show right now, but I think exercising is really important. You know what I mean? But I'm trying to get that going again. I think having exercising and sweating and kind of getting that out of your system is really important. And because, I'm the type of personality that I take work home with me, and I'm thinking about it. I'm grinding on it. So the things that really made a difference to me was when I started prioritizing getting good sleep, exhausting my mind mentally and exhausting my body physically to allow me to get better sleep, to natural sleep, not aided sleep. Like, I'll take a melatonin every now and then, but gosh, I'm groggy every time I come up on that stuff. It takes me, a few hours to kind of get my head right. So that good natural sleep was always very important. And I think that was something that really helped out. Ralph, I'm pretty lucky. I didn't have a tremendously difficult time getting ramped up here, and mainly because my boss is one of the more successful agents that Goosehead's ever had. That's why he's an executive now. So I always had him in my ear. I always had him to lean on, and I'm fortunate in that regard because not a lot of people do. So I try to, new Goosehead agents or existing Goosehead agents that are in and maybe having some struggles, I love to, help out and have that conversation. Hopefully, help them avoid a mistake that I made that they could avoid because, you're sharing that knowledge with them. Right. So I am pretty lucky, but I think regiment, exhausting yourself, having balance a little bit maybe is where I'm getting at. Having a balanced approach. Now, I say that with a grain of salt because we're in sales. So balance is kind of, I'm not talking work-life balance, right? We're in sales. We're trying to make money.
Right. 100% work all the time. Yeah.
Right. So, but you do need to step away. Like when you do step away from something, like for instance, right now, my phone's upside down, right? It's over here. I'm not even looking at that. Right. The tendency for us is to like always be connected. Right. And, let me get this real quick. And one thing I've learned that's really helped me out is you're never going to be more efficient than when you give something your undivided attention. Right. Mm-hmm. So when you send me an opportunity, you send me one of your borrowers that needs some insurance contact, I'm going to get that done quickest, most efficiently, and probably most accurately if I put blinders on and I focus and give 100% attention. I don't answer emails. I don't answer my phone. It doesn't matter. So we got voicemail, we got text, we got all kind of things to help us navigate that stuff. You get blinders on, you get laser focus, you knock it out, and then you move on to the next. You're going to get more accomplished in a day doing that than doing anything else.
I like it, man. I like it. Yeah, one of the biggest things that I did was really I kind of changed my friend group, in a weird way. I hate to even say that out loud, but you kind of have to. I mean, there's a few people that, were very negative. Just, you start realizing when you start taking a step back and you start realizing how negative some people are. And you're like, you know what? Like, I don't know if I want that in my life. Because I'm like, my fucking life is hard enough as it is, trying to fucking start all over again. Just try, and then amidst all this career change, I had a baby. So and having negative people in my life that was probably the biggest change I made. Was just like my circle of 5 to 7 people, and you hear it all the time. You hear Tony Robbins and all these fucking people say like, "Oh, you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with." I used to think I was bullshit. But not anymore. I actually kind of, I 100% agree with that now, because as you start cutting people out of your life, you're like, wait a second. Oh, my mindset's a little bit different. Even some family members, I hate to say, man, I hate to say it, but I'm saying it, it's like, okay, this aunt, a little too negative for me. Let me go ahead and pull it back. And maybe I don't hang out with her as much anymore, or stuff like that. I mean,
we all have choices on where we can spend our time. And I think we all have preferred places we'd like to spend our time and places we definitely don't want to. And some of those are obligations. Some of it's fun. I'm 100% engaged in that conversation right now, professionally and personally. Mm-hmm. This, it's really good segue there because I wanted to touch on this as well, which is where do we allocate our time as commission only people? Where do we spend our time? It's very important. And this whole COVID-19 quarantine, social distancing stuff has really allowed, from my perspective at least, it's given me an opportunity to understand who my real business partners are. Who are my guys? Who are my people? Not guys. Who are my people? Right?
Yeah.
And
2020, you can't say guys anymore.
It's true. My people. And and I've identified a lot of them, and I'm very thankful for those people. And I'm going to give those people my undivided attention and 100% of my efforts in whatever it is that's important to them. The people that aren't online, or the people that aren't, good business partners, that's starting to come to light. And I'm going to have some conversations with those people to try to get them on board, right? I think professionally speaking, that's the right thing to do. But if they're not on board, if they're not aligned, if it's not mutually beneficial, which is what we're all trying to be a part of, right? A mutually beneficial relationship here, we got to cut ties, and I don't want to do it, negatively. There's nothing personal. That's just
Right.
the reality of it. But then on the personal side, unfortunately, some family gets brought in that equation, and I think there's some people in my family that think that I'm a little bit maybe too rude, or that I don't care
Too
about them
forward.
that much.
Yeah.
Probably a little too direct for them, I would say.
Yeah.
But what I think they don't understand is that I'm around, and I'm fortunate enough to have access to people that are super positive. I'm not
Mhm.
naturally that way. I can be very pessimistic. And so it's really important for me to align myself with people that are overly. Chris is like, God, I love Chris Sandoll to death, because if you're feeling bad, give Chris a call. I kid you not, the guy, I've never seen him not smile. I swear.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
It's weird.
like he naturally is that way. I'm naturally the other way. So he's always somebody that helps me get back realigned. And being around people that think positively, that want to help, that are genuine in that regard is extremely important. And I'm doing a bit of thinning on that side too, personally and professionally.
Mhm. Yeah, man, it's weird. This whole COVID thing is, I think that if any positive comes out of this COVID thing, hopefully it'll change the way people think about how they live, right? Because I feel like, and you touched on it earlier, just a bit ago. I know we got to start wrapping up a little bit, so I'll make it short. But the whole personal responsibility thing, where it's like I think a lot of people live just a little bit beyond their means, where they maybe have 1 month savings or something like that, and I get sometimes people can't save that much because of income or children or whatever. But if this is not an eye opener to like, oh shit, maybe I should not go on 5 vacations a year. Maybe I should only go on 3, and save that money for a rainy day. I think that's, if anything comes out of COVID, if it makes you realign your life, realign who you're aligning yourself with, realign your finances, realign anything that's going to put you on that direction that you're trying to get to, then great. I mean, economy shit aside, right? Obviously, I think the economy is going to kind of suffer, I think, for a bit. Good point. Great point you just made there. So
Yeah.
I know you got to get running, dude. So a little closing remarks. I'll let you take it away. Give a little. Are you guys hiring? You said maybe you guys are hiring. Or tell people where they can find you if they need insurance. Where could they find you?
Yeah. So if you're, look, we work with network funding a lot. They send us a lot of their first time home buyers, or their home buyers in general. Any sort of refinance stuff. We have a lot of connections in the mortgage community that help us out. That's a big part of our bread and butter. But we're not exclusively working with just with people. Everybody has insurance. If you drive a car, you own a home, or you own any sort of property, you likely have insurance on it. I'd love to help out, or pressure test your rates, or just do a comb through and make sure that you're not, leaving some money on the table or exposing a couple of areas with maybe a gap in coverage. If you're interested in that, my email address is below. It's chase.johnson@goosehead.com, or you can call my direct office line, 713-714-3750. Now, to talk about the hiring aspect of this, one thing that we've been able to do is kind of allocate more time to training our new guys. And our 2 newest hires are ramping up very nicely. And our financial situation in our office is very strong at the moment, in terms of we manage ourselves financially conservatively, right? We want to make sure that we're not overextending. And we're really primed to start adding more agents to our agency. And we've started to prove that we can get these guys in, coach them up, and start making them real money. And if that interests you, if you're looking to start building wealth or take ownership of your financial situation, I think this is a really good opportunity to start with. We have flexible compensation packages. We can offer healthcare now to our employees. And I would love to talk to you. Please send me your resumes, chase.johnson@goosehead.com, and we'll connect and see if it makes sense from there.
Chase, man, I appreciate your time. I really do. Like I said, I've been thinking about doing something like this for a very, very, very long time. And so amidst all this COVID, shelter in place or work from home, whatever we call it, it kind of prompted me to say, you know what, I think now's the time to kind of start telling people stories. Cause I think a lot of people are going to be in right now, especially in oil and gas, with crude oil hanging around in the mid-20s for, 6 months now. And probably with no light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to start seeing a change in dynamic, I think, again, in here in Houston. So if you are looking for a career change, maybe, and you've always wanted to kind of test yourself in sales, maybe insurance sales may be your thing, or maybe mortgages may be your thing. If you like numbers, if you like, like real estate, hey, reach out to any of us, pick our brain. And if you think it makes sense for you, hey, then it makes sense for you. But Chase, I'll let you get going, man. Hey, I appreciate it. we'll do this again in person, hopefully soon, and with some drinks. And also, we'll talk more about some business stuff offline too. All right, man. So I appreciate your time once again. Have a great day. We'll catch you later, bud.
Man, glad we did it. Thanks for having me, Ralph.
All right, man. See you, bud. All right, guys. That was a pretty cool little conversation. If you were listening or if you had the opportunity to tune in over the past 40-ish minutes, we touched on a lot of things. We touched on career changes, self-evaluation, things that you may need to be changing in your life to maybe get out of a hump or get out of a rut, if you will. Some things that I've learned along the way, especially making a big career change from oil and gas, which is where I was doing for 12, 13 years, to figuring out something that I was kind of good at, or trying to figure out what my strengths were. It took time, and it's like an evolving thing. I'm slowly figuring out what I'm good at and what I want to do, what kind of keeps my engine running. So if you have a chance, take a look at this video, take a look at once I post it, and you can look at the history of the video. Take a look at it, click through it. Maybe there's something in there for you that may make sense to say, you know what, I need to make these changes in my life, whether it be remove people from your daily life, maybe reevaluate your circle of friends, maybe save a little bit more money, something, right? So hopefully I was able to provide you with a little bit of information, or just maybe a different aspect of things, because I know that changing careers is not easy, especially if you lose your job. Losing your job sucks. I was one of that. I was part of that. A piece of it was self-inflicted, but it's like going through a bad breakup. So maybe you need to take a listen to this video. Maybe you just need to see if there's some things you need to change to turn you, get you a U-turn and have you head in the opposite direction. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I do appreciate your time. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. Shoot me a DM and we'll go over any questions you have. So with that said, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.